Hello, dear friends. I am Michaela. Welcome to my astrology channel, Today Energy. This video will be dedicated to our good and well-known friend, Mercury, because once again, Mercury goes retrograde. It's funny because even people who are not at all familiar with astrology have heard of Mercury, who moves from time to time backwards, which we call retrogradation. Of course, it happens with many more planets, not only Mercury, but Mercury tends to go retrograde 3 and sometimes even like this year, 4 times a year. It happens so because this year it will start its last retrogradation on the 29th of December, if I'm not wrong. So that's why we will be talking about him, Mercury, the messenger of gods, all 4 times. Now, Mercury will be retrograde for the second time this year, from the 10th of May up until the 3rd of June. And during its going back and forward, he will pass 3 times the distance between the 26th degree of Taurus and the 4th degree of Gemini. So Mercury enters to these degrees, which he will be covering 3 times, on the 26th of April. We call this entering into the retrograde shadow period, because precisely on the 26th of April, Mercury was at 26th degree of Taurus. By the way, something more I will tell you about this degree. It's exactly the degree on which we have sitting the fixed star Algol. It's a well-known star, I believe, as well, because it has rather negative reputation, because mostly for mundane astrology, it's important that Algol tends to bring some hard events, catastrophes, big scale of loss of human life, wars. And by the way, this degree and Algol were activated still on the 19th of November of last year, when we had the very first eclipse on the axis Taurus Scorpio. It's all connected. You see all this knowledge because since the karmic lunar nodes Rahu and Ketu are moving for a whole year and a half on this particular axis, Taurus and Scorpio, the eclipses also happen in these signs. And the very first to open these eclipses that we are living through right now, currently, was on the 19th of November. It was at 27th degree of Taurus. And that eclipse in November, it was activated on the 15th of February, when the node itself, Rahu, the north node, talking about the future development of the society, reached this degree. So overall, you see how active is this part of the sky. And now Mercury, well, now, first of all, on the 26th of April, Mercury walked on this very seismic area of the sky degrees, and he will be back again on this very degree. Now, on the 10th of May, Mercury, from our perspective, or from the Earth perspective, until the approaching the 10th of May, approaching the 4th degree and 52 seconds of Gemini, Mercury gets slower and slower, and then on 10th of May, precisely, as if the planet stops its movement and slowly again starts moving backwards. On the 3rd of June, there you go, on the 3rd of June, Mercury again will stop at the 26th degree of Taurus, hence activating the events in your life, in my life, in the collective society life, from the around the 19th of November 2021 and from around the 15th of February 2022, and I think we all know what exactly in Europe happened back then. So these topics will be triggered, reactivated again by Mercury at the beginning of June. Okay, then Mercury turns again direct at again 26th degree of Taurus, goes forward. Yeah, it's already direct, so we all can breathe out with alleviation. But the truth is that Mercury leaves this path, this area of the sky, which he was rolling on 3 times. Finally, he leaves it on the 18th of June, when he passes the 4th degree of Gemini and continues further. And so the planet, in this case Mercury, leaves the retrograde shadow for good this year. I noticed as well, while Mercury does this whole retrogradation cycle, and a little bit later I will mention why at all it's so important, Mercury does some certain aspects which are repeated 3 times on the sky. Actually, one of them is not even repeated, but it's a constant process for all these 21 days while Mercury it's retrograde, these 3 weeks. So he does a trine to Pluto. Pluto currently is as well retrograde on the 28th degree of Capricorn. Now, Pluto is the outermost and the slowest planet, so it spends a lot of time in the same degree, especially when it's close to stationing and starts retrograding, as it happens now. So it's like glued or stuck in this very degree, and it's very active. Pluto is not a simple, not an easy, not very positive planet, to be frank, but trine is an excellent aspect, and especially at the end of April and at the beginning of May, Mercury does this trine to Pluto and does a sextile to Jupiter and Venus in Pisces. So this is a very beneficial energy for what? For mercurial topics, for studies, for negotiations, for business, for teaching, because we have involved Pluto, which who can be great in this case for some business ideas and financial and money making. And of course, Jupiter, who is about exploring, who is about knowledge, who is about authority figures, government, teaching, traveling, and Venus, of course, brings pleasure to all of this, success, diplomacy. And Venus can talk about finances and money as well. So this we can use this up until more or less the 21st of May. By the way, Mercury rules, of course, our mind, our speech, our thinking processes, self-expression, and while it does these beautiful aspects to Pluto and Jupiter, it's great for researching information, to gain some popularity through your voice, through your thoughts, through speaking out or writing down and publishing perhaps your ideas. It can really help you becoming more famous, well-known, respected. But of course, while Mercury is stationing these days, the 10th of May and 3rd of June, then you probably, those 2 days are not particularly the best to launch something new, but really excellent to do your research and to prepare and to publish something, especially if you have thought about it before, but maybe you were lacking some courage up until this moment. Now Pluto will give you this motivation, this courage, and Jupiter will bring you the luck and the faith and the optimism, the right circumstances, and attract your public to you. Now, on the 25th of May, Mars is at the very first degrees of Aries. So Mars can, as we say in my country, add some hot oil to the situation, so making you even more excited and ambitious, especially in your self-expression, communication, convincing others probably about your ideas. Really, the beginning of May and up until the 21st of May is actually really good for influencing people, right? With this Mercury who rules trading and social media, and Jupiter popularity and being famous and respected and an expert and authority, and Pluto, who is very good with incepting ideas, almost like propaganda, you know, so we have to be thoughtful about it and use our Mercury in a very positive way to spread our beliefs and our ideas. But here on the 25th of May, it might become a bit more selfish and aggressive. We better use it for just positive enthusiasm, I would say. And look at that, on the 3rd of June, when Mercury will be very slow because he will be stationing to prepare to go again direct. On the 3rd of June, he still does the trine to Pluto. So we still talk about very focused, concentrated, very active, penetrating mind with very deep understanding, like X-ray feeling of other people's ideas and intentions. But the same day, Mercury does sextile already not to Jupiter, but to Neptune in Pisces. So Neptune might introduce a bit more idealization, and actually we might share and talk and write about our own faith and ideas and ideals. It might be good for some water travels, like, you know, travel somewhere near water or on water in a boat. It might be a great time for joining or supporting or writing about, sharing some humanitarian charity causes and promoting some, maybe there will be actually some news online or just news in the media about healing, about medicine, Neptunian topic, right? Also, it could be about simply like super high race of publicity, because Neptune rules the world of illusions, the world of alternative reality, artificial reality, escapism, dreams, and what we consume as consumers most dreams from TV, from Hollywood, from movies, from media as well. So really, beginning of June can be full of exciting, but also be careful. There might be intentionally manipulative news and campaigns. So who will feel the most this time the retrogradation of Mercury? Especially around the dates 10th of May and 3rd of June, when the planet will be feeling most uncomfortably. It's like a person who goes normally, especially Mercury, it's a very speedy planet who likes quick interactions, who like clear facts, and suddenly he is like slowed down, he feels like a bit dizzy in the mist, and then he has to go backwards, right? So not very comfortable. So most of all will feel rather, I would say, uncomfortable, the signs who are ruled by Mercury. And of course, we're talking about Gemini and Virgos. Now, some of you guys might feel a bit tense, because when the planet is stationing, it's also kind of most influential, like closest to Earth and mostly influencing us. So you might feel some urges to do something, but at the same time, there is this tension, not very clear mind, not very good well-being, like physically possibly. Definitely Virgos, Geminis, be careful around 10th of May and 3rd of June. You might feel a bit more distracted than usual, because normally you are very mental people who process information, who looks for certainty, for facts, double checks, especially Virgos. It's all about good, proper organization. But here you might be the people who actually could accidentally, not willingly, of course, provoke some misunderstandings. There might be around you some miscommunications. By the way, you might be a bit more unsure than usually, a bit more hesitant than usually. And especially if we talk about the rising signs, the ascendant Virgos and Gemini, then in your life might come suddenly people from your past, some former friends, acquaintances, partners, personal, intimate partners, business partners as well. There might be some talks about past documents, papers, contracts, and deals. Also, not only people with dominant Gemini and Virgo energy will feel especially the stationing of Mercury, but I would say everyone who has ascendant, sun, moon, or other important planets or points in the last 5 degrees of Taurus, and of course in the first 5 degrees of Gemini. Talking about these people, why we do these videos and we talk so in depth about the retrogradation of any planet, including Mercury, it's because while it's retrograde in this particular piece of the zodiac constellations, it will be triggering, like on the sky, you see there will be constantly this trine to Pluto, but also it will be triggering 3 times in your natal chart, your points, your planets. It will be conjuncting the ones which are between 26 of Taurus and 4 of Gemini, but maybe you also have something in the other late degrees of other fixed signs like Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, or you have some planets in the other first 4 degrees from 0 to 4 to 5 even, I would say, of Gemini, but also of the other mutable signs like Sagittarius, like Pisces, and of course Virgo as well. And you might be really, what do we mean by saying like triggering? Yeah, who is triggering these points? Mercury. So Mercury wants you to rethink something related to these points, retalk it again, meet again with such people. For example, just as an example, if you have the moon in those degrees, then when Mercury touches it once, twice, 3 times, then you might have more often now meetings with your mom or with some elderly woman in your life. You might need to rethink and reassess the situation of your property, of your home, your house. You might be moving, and you might be moving even 3 times, because you do it the first time while Mercury is in its shadow period. Then when it's going retrograde, you suddenly need, for instance, to bring more papers, more documents concerning the property you, let's say, just purchased, or you're selling it, but then there is some misunderstandings with the buyer. And so you need to wait. Sometimes it's about waiting. And then finally, when Mercury goes again direct through this very, again, let's say, conjuncting your moon, then you finally strike the deal. Then you finally move in with your mom, for example, or take your mom to live with you and your family. Of course, if the point we're talking about is your MC, so the cusp of your 10th house, So this is a very sensitive point, which always talks about your career and your status in the world. So you might be considering moving job, and you might receive some offer from another company, but here is really advisable to take your time to research the market, to see very carefully, read all the contract, what they offer you, and finally make your last decision. Well, you will most probably make your last decision when Mercury hits for the third time your MC. And of course, it's great, whatever planet it is, maybe there is something from the past that will reappear just for you to take something valuable from that experience, remember it, honor it, or maybe even finish it if it's stayed unfinished in the past. Now, really not only for you guys, which I just mentioned with this special points in these degrees and planets, but also for all of us, all the humanity. When Mercury is stationing, so let's say 1-2 days before and after the 3rd of June and the 10th of May, it's not very good idea to start some completely new actions related to mercurial themes. What does Mercury rule? Well, for instance, don't subscribe to any new education. I wouldn't recommend you taking exams exactly in these 6 days, let's call them. New acquaintances might just come and then go easily from your life. I wouldn't go to deliver or to sign some documents, sign some deals, make tests, analysis, let's say, exams of examining your health, because then you just might need to do them once again. The result might be unclear. Any sort of operations, interventions, let's say anything that you would do with your hands, be careful, especially if it's involving also public, like a craft, doing some craft work and workshop at the same time. With these days, we better be careful with driving. Not the best days to do checkup of your car or buy or sell any kind of a vehicle. Not advisable for traveling, nor to book a trip, book a hotel or tickets. Definitely no for opening social media websites, pages, blogs, to send packages abroad using the post. Post offices usually experience a bit of problems, delays, and packages get lost, unfortunately, in those days. Shopping online, especially doing any sort of trade and business online. And most of all, we do stay away from buying smartphones, laptop, computers, any sort of office equipment or gadgets or electronics for the home, for example. And always, we have to be very careful with our emails and with really any sort of messages we transmit to each other these days. Make sure that there are no sent accidentally before proofreading, double, triple, quadruple checking. And why, remember I just mentioned at the beginning of the video that when the planet stations either to go retrograde or to go direct, it's usually closest to Earth. So it does influence us a lot. So our minds are actually exhilarated and triggered and excited when Mercury is in such position. And we have this feeling, we have this false sense of urgency, like, oh my God, I need to send this package today. I need to send this 15 emails, right? Because it's a false feeling, but it's like anxiety, a little bit of, or actually even a lot of mental anxiety. And people with very prominent Mercury in their charts, for example, Mercury near the Ascendant or near the MC, or of course, Gemini, Virgo rising, people with stellium in Gemini or in Virgo might be exactly prompt to mistakes, because they feel a bit more stressed, but at the same time a bit more confused during this date. So we have to just be patient and be careful to avoid any sort of misunderstandings. And you probably noticed, yes, first Mercury will reach the 4th degree of Gemini, then turn and go backwards and enter into Taurus again. Yeah, go back into Taurus. So first, Mercury's attention will be to the sign it rules, of course, Gemini. So it will be about our mental processes and exchange of information, communication, vehicles, and short distance travels. And it might concern our relationship with our brothers, sisters, cousins, extended family, neighbors. But then Mercury goes back into Taurus. So we will be now prompt to reassess, reevaluate something of Taurian topics. And overall, generally, Taurus talks about material things, about our body, our health, nutrition, how do we eat. So maybe we will reevaluate this. Taurus talks about the money, of course, we make through what? Through work. So how we work, for how much we're paid, how much we earn, how much we value ourselves, what we spend our money for. So definitely reassessing, replanning the budget. And I say because when Mercury actually goes retrograde, of course, there are 3 weeks. It's impossible not to make phone calls, not to send messages, not to go to work, drive your car, or meet people, be online, or send emails. Of course, you will do that. But overall, during this period, it's actually it's a great time for several activities. Yes, I would avoid still launching new business, new projects, signing completely new deals, but it's the great time to investigate, especially with the Mercury trine Pluto, right? It's about the mind of a detective. So you will see the smallest details, and that's amazing. So you can, make a list of, okay, so this company offers me the job, so let me research, check the market, like, are their salaries fair? Is it what I really want? Let me negotiate with the HR or the new manager. Let me think if I want it, right? Let me go maybe to some few other more interviews to make up my mind. So this one thing. Second thing, as I said, during Mercury retrograde, some things might reappear from the past, and it might be something related to studies. So during retrograde period, it's great, guys, for you who have some pending exam to be taken from your education. Maybe you gave up in the last moment for your driving license school or any other sort of online studies. Now you can actually have the second chance, do the second attempt. So because retrograde, we have the preposition re, which means once again from Latin language, right? So re-evaluate, reassess, redo, correct, repair, even repair. Now, while Mercury is retrograde, when it's already moving on a decent speed, so a couple of days after the stationing periods, well, then you can go again to check your blood, to do some examination. Now you can definitely check your car, your vehicle. You can sell now, you can sell old things that you don't need anymore. And even I would say that you could buy things which are secondhand, thrift shops, or maybe some antiques, something that is already used and reused. It's great to recycle, obviously, buy something recycled. What else? restore something at your home, for instance, or do repairments at home. Repeat again some diet, some regime of eating, health habit, maybe go back to hopefully some positive, beneficial for you health habit. Maybe you will contact again some consultant, maybe therapist, maybe a doctor. So you will once again work already with people you know, you can trust, and you like them. You can gather data, check some facts, evaluate pros and cons. You can reread a book, rewatch some interesting TV show, retake a course to refresh kind of your knowledge, your memory. You can do stuff which you wanted always to do. You were planning, you were preparing, and somehow you never got to them. So now you have this kind of opportunity. And again, once again, about the people who will come back to your life, it's not always for good. Usually it lasts their visit for the period of Mercury retrograde. Sometimes people just need some kind of closure in their lives, right? In our lives. So it's okay if you need, if your hands are itchy to dial your ex-girlfriend, boyfriend, right? Okay, maybe you need to talk something out or to hear something and finally like close this gestalt, close this issue for yourself in your mind. You might want to travel back to some places you've been already. That's great idea. Go back to visit your family, for instance, in your city of origin. So it's great to do something that you have already done as well, and you might expect a better result, you know, like make it better this time. And yeah, generally, retrograde Mercury, it's not so much about big social parties, events, but maybe you might reopen your page, or if you check that, hey, my blog is not going so well, so let me do more deep research about it, and maybe let me change something in my page, change my approach to my blogging. Maybe think of which strategy will help me achieve success in my social medias. But yeah, Mercury retrograde is great for introspection. So like more have this internal dialogues, planning, thinking, considering. It's great for having a diary, writing down your thoughts, because later when Mercury goes again direct, you might reread it and you might have some very interesting insights about yourself and your situation. As well, my dears, let's be prepared that there might be some delays during retrograde Mercury. If you're planning or you wanted to launch something or sign something, either there is a need to renegotiate or negotiate more, or you'll have to wait for instance, when we were talking about this moon activated by Mercury 3 times in your natal chart. So in your case, it might be about property, and maybe you need to make some repairs at home and you look for brigade of workers, right? So maybe the first ones promise that they will come, but they don't come. Then you realize that you found another ones who charge less, but they are busy, you need to wait. And then finally, after the 18th of June, when Mercury is direct, but also goes out of this this certain path of retrogradation in the shadow, and then finally one of the brigades finally comes to your house and does the job, and you already have new ideas. You said, hey guys, actually I had rethought the concept, so actually I want the walls in different color, for example. So yeah, we have in my language this saying, before cut something, because you cut usually once, then measure it 7 times before you actually get the scissors and cut it. So now I would like to mention a couple of words for each separate zodiac sign. I'm basing my forecasts on your rising sign, your ascendant, but also they play out very nicely, I know, for your sun sign, and even for some people for your moon sign. So you can listen to 3 of them. So starting with Aries. Aries, Mercury rules in your natal chart, if we use the whole house systems, 3rd and 6th houses. So there might be either delays or you have to go back to some old projects concerning education, siblings, neighbors, relatives, old neighborhood, something about your vehicle, or social media and information generally. Maybe it's about documents. Either you have to collect some more papers, someone asks you to do so, or it's about maybe retaking some course, or you finally have some news from your old neighbors. 6th house, there might be delays in work projects. Maybe you will need to again retake some examination of your health, some old problems that you put aside. It might be waiting for or reassessing some repairments at home, or again you have to take care of someone, because 6th house is the house of work, health, daily routine. Maybe it's about you remembering that you actually enjoyed some kind of habit before, or nutrition regime, so you go back to the same diet, or dietitian or the doctor, you contact old familiar doctors. And of course 6th house is about serving others and our karma. So maybe it's about retaking some responsibilities to finish them maybe this time better, and to conclude your tasks, and solve your problems that maybe you were putting aside for some time. It might be again your pet, that you need to pay attention to your pet because of some reason, or just, you know, take again the same pet as you used to have before. And yeah. Oh, yeah, 6th house can be about your working space. So you might go back to the old office or have the old equipment. For 3rd house, don't buy gadgets now. Don't book tickets, travels, and so on. And then Mercury, by the way, he will be retrograde in your 3rd house. So it is about documents, studies, vehicles, be careful on the road. Then when Mercury goes back to Taurus, it's your 2nd house. So it's replanning of your budget, spendings, incomes. Don't buy anything unnecessary, plan your buyings, check the market, search, research. Maybe it's about going back to some old source of income, or finishing again some work projects. And 2nd house is about body and health as well. So you want to check how you take care of your health once again. Taurus, for you, Mercury rules your 2nd and 5th house. So we're talking here about the house you traditionally rule. So it's about finances, budget, income, what you spend for. So don't rush to buy anything now impulsively. Research the market, compare the prices. After 3rd and even after 18th of June, you will have the clear concept of what and from where you want to buy. 2nd house is maybe finishing some old project, going back to some old source of money, income, maybe concluding some task. And it's about your health physically and nutrition. So maybe you will go back to some specific diet that was beneficial for you before. And 5th house is about meeting with your children, maybe who are living currently abroad. So there is a reunion, meeting with old romantic partners. They might reappear in your life, but as I mentioned before, it might be just for the short period to finish and clear something with them. You might be revisited by a muse, by an old inspiration. You will be like, hey, I always liked dancing, so why don't I go back to the same salsa club, right? So it's about passion and hobby and what we love doing in our life. Sometimes fifth house is about business. So second and fifth house, finances from your business. Maybe you will come back to the idea to turn your hobby into your income source. So first Mercury retrogrades exactly here in your second house of money and work, but then Mercury goes back a little bit into Taurus, right? Into your first house. So you will need to reassess your, let's say, it might be again about your health and your body. So take care of that. Just you will have to probably revisit something about this. Also, it might be going back to some old look of yours, like how you liked your hair and style and so on. And really some old relationships, professional, business or personal ones, might be reestablished, reappear again in your life. With some, maybe just to finish it forever, once and for all. With others, maybe it's like, maybe you were fighting with your own child and you were not in communication for some time, and now you reestablish your contact. Gemini, Mercury, your ruler, so not only your first house, but also ruling your fourth house. So we're talking here about your health, physically, how you take care of your body. You might want to go back to some old doctor or regime or dietary, like diet. Maybe you will remember some old vision of yours, hair color, so you will go back to that. Old relationships might reappear in your life. Sometimes it's just to be maybe given second chance, but more often than not, it's about just finishing forever, just, like burn the bridge, clear it from your life. And fourth house, you might revisit old family home, family, city, town, country. If you are an expat and living abroad, you might need to reassess your possessions, in a sense, like your property, where you live. Maybe it's about moving, relocating, but rather to some old familiar place or somewhere you wanted to go to relocate for a long time. Maybe it's a family reunion with your parents. So, or going back in the past into your memory, especially because first Mercury retrogrades in your first house. So it's about me and my body and my relationships and my environment. Maybe you're going back to some old environment, but then Mercury retrogrades a little bit for some time in your 12th house. So it's about something from the past, something from your memories. Maybe it's a great time to do regression, to do constellation, all this sort of psychological practices to get messages from your past lives, from your prenatal state, and get better emotionally, psychologically. So contact your therapist, your spiritual guru or teacher, maybe retake again meditative practices, go on pilgrimage to these old places you already know, the monasteries, ashrams. 12th house is about long distance travels. So you might go somewhere abroad to some exotic place, but most probably where you have already been. And just simply put, by 12th house, we might talk about going back to some project of work done for some international company and done, let's say, online, or also either go back to work in isolation or go back to a place of isolation. So maybe either it's a retreat or it might be some clinic for some health research, for instance. Cancer. For you, Mercury rules 12th and 3rd house. On the first look, we're talking here about travels, about vehicle, about going to some old places, revisiting some people or places. It might be as abroad, some even exotic country. Let's say you go back to Bali or Malaysia, or you just go back to visit your old neighbors who now live in a different town. or you go back to your old neighborhood, for example. It's reestablishing connection with your relatives and siblings. 12th house is about your memories, something from the past, or it might be working from like distance working, from home or from this exotic country online. So maybe you need to finish such project. Third house might talk about repairing your car, collecting some documents, especially if we're planning here some relocation, immigration. So it might be delayed a little bit until you get all the papers needed. It might be about some social media. So maybe you are rearranging your website and your blog, for instance. And in this transit, Mercury will dip again into your 11th house in Taurus, yeah, for a while. So we're talking here about reuniting with old friends, reviving maybe some old friendships or group projects. Maybe you need to finish some group project, or going back to some group of people you already know, you're familiar with. Maybe it's organization, NGO, political organization. So you have to either finish something there, or you have to wait a little bit more for this group project to come to a fruition and reality, or just meeting with some, some old friends. 11th house is about hopes and dreams and wishes and long-term goals. So maybe you will be returned to some old dream of yours that you just forgot or gave up because of some circumstances, and now you can revive it and actually fulfill it. Leos, for you, Mercury rules 11th and 2nd house in whole sign system. So we're talking here, first of all, about reconnecting with some old friends, open finally some or participate in some group project that either you participated but you quit before, or you were always dreaming about and now it happens. It's about some organizations, or maybe it's some website. It's about being with like-minded people once again. Of course, maybe it means a delay in something related to these activities with other people. It might be delay of receiving your salary from your career. On the other hand, 11th house talks about hopes and wishes and dreams. So maybe you go back to some old dream of yours and you revive it, and now you can fully realize it and make it come true. Second house as well. Well, of course, we're talking here about work, finances, budget. So you need to revisit, reevaluate, readjust, reassess your budget. Maybe you go back to some old source of income once again, maybe just to finish there something. Don't rush to buy new stuff. Use the time of Mercury retrograde to research the market, compare prices, and then buy already after the 3rd of June, or even better after the 18th of June, when Mercury leaves the retrograde shadow. A second house is about your body and health. So maybe you'll go back to some familiar already to you health and nutrition regime. Or maybe you will be buying yourself something you wanted a long time already. And yeah, Mercury will be first retrograde in your 11th house and then your 10th house. So first we're talking about old dreams, friends, and group projects. But then he goes back a little bit into Taurus to for you to reevaluate your life mission, your career goals. Maybe it's really about going back to some old work project, or meeting with your parents, or old managers and bosses are coming again into your life. But it's more about, I think, more about your life mission reassessment. Virgos, of course, Mercury rules you, your first house, but also your 10th house. So we're talking here, first of all, about your health, your body. So you might go back to check your health, do some analysis, examination, maybe go back to the same doctor you know already, to all the diet which helped you once to feel better. First house is about our environment, we and other people, so maybe some acquaintances, friends, partners, business partners might reappear in your life. Usually it's not for forever. It's usually to just finish something with them or clear the, how to say, like just burn the bridge finally. Yeah, meet, talk about it all, and maybe just conclude the interaction. Sometimes, of course, it might be vice versa, to just establish the connection, the business, the relationship. And in this case, 10th house as well. So we are talking about your work. Maybe you're going back to old profession, or the old company calls you back, or you need to finish something before you go on pension, because 10th house is career and status. Maybe once again you become a grandparent or a parent once again, right? So something is repeating about your status. Maybe you're moving back to the same country where you used to live and work before, or maybe something or maybe you have to wait a bit more for that, because Mercury retrograde can bring delays. So if it's first house, maybe you wanted to make some plastic surgery, but you need to wait a bit longer for it. And 10th house, you need to pass several interviews and check very carefully your contract to be taken to this job. And Mercury first retrogrades your 10th house, and then when in Taurus, he retrogrades a bit of your 9th house. So we're talking here about work, career, life mission overall, reassess what you really want to do in this life, what you want to leave as a legacy behind you. And 9th house is documents, education. So maybe to achieve your career goals and status, you need to go back to university, finish your studies. Write down this thesis, publish it finally, present yourself on that exam. Maybe it's about travel abroad. Maybe your new company wants you to go work somewhere else in a place where you used to be already. So it's some familiar foreign country or culture or people from abroad. Maybe you reestablish communication with colleagues or friends from abroad, and maybe you go back to your old belief system, faith, and principles. Also, it's about documents and legal matters. So maybe you need to reassess those now, or there will be little delay in such matters. Libra, for you, Mercury rules your 9th and 12th houses. We might talk here about faith and belief system. So you might be reminded of your old hopes and dreams and wishes and beliefs. Definitely we talk here about traveling to some people you know already, or places you've been, especially abroad, especially some very far away exotic country. You might just go back to work there or to relax. Maybe you're going to a spiritual journey. 9th house, retake this course, finish your degree, go back to this exam, write down your thesis, publish this article you wanted to publish, meet again with this teacher, find again, or call again this expert, this lawyer, something about documents, about legal matters. These issues actually might be delayed. Maybe there will be a delay in your exam or receiving your certificate, or in your relocation, or in this the results of your trial, court trial. 12th house, definitely we talk here psychology, spirituality. It's a great time to work with a therapist, to do regressions, constellations, work with your memory about your childhood, before you were born, past lives, and kind of go back to heal and to get rid of bad habits, and yeah, like cleanse from it once and for all, emotionally, physically, and psychologically. First, Mercury will be retrograding your ninth house, and then when he goes into Taurus, he will be moving backwards through your eighth house for a while. So eighth house is about psychology. It's about our own fears. It's about deep inner transformation, sometimes through some external events which are not so easy and pleasant, maybe something stressful, extreme. So you might want to yeah, it's not easy, but maybe you didn't really work everything through with your therapist, and now you have to call them again, the old good therapist, and work a bit more on your traumas from the past, your self-harming habits, and so on. On the other hand, eighth house is about intimate relationships. So some old partners might reappear in your life, maybe to reestablish the connection, but most often than not, it's about clearing your life from these people. Just say what you have to say, what you were carrying inside of you, to just share it and to leave this person for good and allow them to live your life. Of course, it might be partner with whom you were just dating, but you wanted something more, and now this person comes and says they're ready to, let's say, live together, move in together, buy a house together, have children, and so on. Legalize your marriage could be. So yeah, you will take this decision. Eighth house is about passive income, getting money from your family, support by your partner, business partners, investments, renting property. So it's like, you know, shared resources and money we receive from either government or someone. So you might need to wait to get your loan from the bank, for instance, or support from the government for your business or travel or research. Or you might go back to some old source of income. For instance, you relocate and you, once again, you rent your apartment where you used to live. By the way, 12th house and 8th house might talk either about pilgrimage and going to some spiritual journeys and psychological within, or it might talk about going to a hospital or a clinic for some research for your health, for example. Maybe it's about second marriages, something about getting married for the second time, divorcing, or having a second child, being pregnant again. Scorpios, my dears, Mercury rules your 8th and 11th house. So we're talking here something very familiar for you. 8th house is about revisiting your old good friend demons from your psyche. I mean, that's turning again to a therapist, researching your traumas. Once again, try to fight your fears, panic attacks, whatever comes from your psyche and emotions. 8th house is about passive income, inheritances, alimony, support from the government. So either you will have to wait for this, there will be some delay in the process, or you might go back to this passive income, let's say renting your place or going back to cooperation with your old business partner to actually share the space where you both are giving yoga classes, something like that. And especially because 11th house is about friendships. So Scorpios, you are getting back to some old friends, familiar groups of people, courses, organizations, you are rejoining them, or you go back to some old shared projects with other group projects. You reopen a web page online, right? So second chance to become popular. 11th house is about hopes, dreams, and wishes. So maybe you remember some old dream of yours, and now you have the resources to make it come true. By the way, 8th house is also about intimate partners, so they might come back to your life. Mostly it's exactly to kind of finish the relationship, let go, and kind of burn the bridge. And yeah. So first, Mercury will be retrograde in the 8th house. So this reassessing your passive incomes and intimate relationships as well. And then Mercury will dip into 7th house a little bit for a while. So you will be reassessing relationships. Indeed, someone from the past might come to your life. Maybe they would like to make it this time better and more serious, the relationship. Maybe it might be as well some old consultant that you know already, a lawyer, for instance. It might be about ideas about marriage or divorce, which in either case, it's good to leave this for after Mercury goes direct, not to have it go to it again and again and again, repeat and repeat. But yes, some partners from the past, either good friends or exes, can come to talk, sort something out with you. Sagittarius, for you, Mercury rules your 7th and 10th houses. Wow, we're talking here about relationships. So some ex people from the past might revisit you, or you might turn to some familiar lawyers or consultant therapists, people with whom you work, cooperate, business partners. They might come for, to reestablish the connection, to resign the contract, make some, rethink some deals. Or these ex-partners might just, come to basically talk things through and finally let go and burn the bridge. 10th house, of course, it's a very important area. It's about either work and career. So maybe you are going back to some old profession or old place of work, or something familiar already to you. You finally retake the place that you were applying some years ago, but now you're better prepared. Maybe you need to finish something out before going on pension. So maybe your promotion needs to wait for this period of Mercury retrograde until you sort out your documents and you read very carefully everything before signing. Yeah, 7th, 10th house. It can be some business documents and contracts and deals. Maybe old manager or boss that you know already comes again into your department, and maybe something is delaying, let's say, in the dealings of your parents. And Mercury first retrogrades your 7th house. So as we mentioned about the old relationships reappearing or being reassessed, and then Mercury goes back into your 6th house for a while. That's work, office. So maybe you're going back to old office, you meet old colleagues, a team, employees, or old equipment, or you have to finish something at work, project unfinished. But also it's about your health and regime. So maybe you remember some doctor that you liked, you want to visit them again. Maybe it's about again making examination of your health to be more clear about your results. Maybe it's about taking the old pet at home again, or old type of pet you used to like. And going back to a diet that used to work for you, and sleeping and working habits as well, like at least reassessing them and do the research. Capricorns, Mercury rules your 6th and 9th house. So we're talking here about work, finishing some work project, going back to some old working space, office, meeting some old colleagues or employees. But also 6th house is about your health. So re-examining your health, going back to the doctor you already know and trust. Retake these exercises or diet regime that you used to do and liked before, was with good results for you. Maybe it's about taking the same breed of dog or cat that you used to have as a child. Maybe it's again calling someone to help you out with some dealings of yours, maybe like housemaid or someone who would help you, because sixth house is work, but also it's about serving others, helping others, or others helping you. So maybe you again start taking care of someone, maybe some relative, or you try to figure out, maybe you will hire someone to exactly help you with your responsibilities and duties. And ninth house, we can talk here either about traveling to some old familiar place abroad. Maybe it's a work related to going to work to some place abroad that you already know, or meeting again with some foreigners, ninth house. Maybe it's finishing your requalification education, trying again to pass this exam that you couldn't last time, getting your certificate this time, publishing something, writing your thesis, meeting with old teachers. Ninth house, court trials and documents. There might be a delay. You might need time to collect papers you need, or there might be restarting of the trial, for example, or going back to it. First, Mercury retrogrades exactly in your sixth house about work and health. You need to reassess them and your duties and responsibilities. But then Mercury dips for a while into Taurus. That's your fifth house in the whole sign system. So maybe some old lovers come to your life again. Maybe you reestablish the connection with your children, or you start rethinking the topic about children. Maybe it's connected to old hobby and passion that reappears in your life, or reestablishing the interrupted business, let's say finally turning hobby into business if you have been dreaming and planning about it for a long time. About the romantic partners from the past, well, they can come to do something like more serious with you, or maybe it's just about the cutting the ends, tying the ends, and releasing and letting go of these people from your life. But it's a great chance to reestablish some passion, especially, let's say, if you liked running, and now it can be really beneficial for your health. So start running again. Aquarius, for you, Mercury rules your fifth and your eighth house. Well, first of all, we can expect here returning to some old dating partners, romantic suitors. Usually it's just for the time being of Mercury retrograde, but sometimes people reestablish their relationship, of course, if they're able to communicate what exactly they want to change for the better in them. And we might here think about more, once again, about children, having children, getting pregnant again, maybe doing some examinations and so on. Old hobby might you might retake some old activities that you truly enjoyed. That's fifth house. Inspiration, business as well, fifth and eighth house. Talking here about eighth house, support from the government, from business partners, from your own spouse and partner, relying on family money, shared resources, common joint income, passive income, investments that can support your children, your passions, your hobby, your business. Then Mercury first retrogrades your fifth house, so about these romantic relationships and joy and hobbies. But then Mercury dips for a while into Taurus. That's your fourth house. So then you go to revisit your family, or you rethink your property, what to do with it, to sell it, to rent it possibly, and thus converting it into a passive income. It might be talking with your parents about relocation. Maybe it is about planning your relocation with, joining the family with your children. Maybe you start living together. Going back home, maybe you were traveling or living abroad, and now you decide to return to your country or city of origin. Pisces, for you, Mercury retrogrades in your fourth house. first and then third house, and it rules fourth and seventh houses. So first of all, we're talking about going back into your memories or to place of origin, city, town, home, country, meeting again with your parents, talking something important with your parents, or about your property, because then also seventh house is partners. So maybe on one hand you reestablish connection with some old partner, ex business partner as well could be. So you need to resign some deals, resign some papers and documents. It might be about selling property, for example, or it might be about you and your partner again thinking about where to buy a house. It's a good idea to buy some old house already or something you wanted before, or you together go back home after working abroad, let's say for some time. And then Mercury retrogrades in your third house. We're talking here about travel to some familiar places, meeting again with your siblings, cousins, old neighbors, revisiting old neighborhood, talking about traveling. Maybe you would like to buy a second-hand car or sell your old car. Check your car, check your social media pages if you have such. Rethink the concept. You have time. Mercury goes backwards. Maybe old public will come to you, followers. Maybe you will reopen old page. Maybe you will go back to some courses of education that you never finished. Maybe take the exam, take the certificate this time. You have chance for second attempt. It might be also about finishing some business deals and trades, launch again your promotion campaign, but not something entirely new, really. Don't sign completely new papers, but you have the time to do a lot of research, collect facts, gather data. So then after Mercury goes direct, you can be prepared for whatever the project. In this case, it can be something related to property and family deals or partners. Well, that was the forecast for the whole 12 signs. I wish you a beneficial and useful Mercury retrograde. Thank you for liking, sharing this video, for subscribing for my channel, and see you next time. Bye.